Hello, I'm your host, Ellen Nicole.
And I'm your host, Eileen Nikita.
We're talking about when caregiving ends. So before we even start, we're going to ask you please click the like.
Yeah, it's
subscribe.
Free.
It's free, and share our podcast. Today is episode 9. We have a special guest, Nicole Finch, business owner, entrepreneur, and a former caregiver of her mom. We're going to actually talk about several things. We're going to talk about grief, denial, the pain and the hurt that you feel, triggers, and consequences. So we're going to start off with Nicole. She lost her mother a month ago, yes. And we're friends, and she was with us, meaning with me, talking with me as we were going through the loss of our mom, and we're on month number 3. So thank you, Nicole, for being here. We know it's not easy to talk about, but we appreciate you taking the time to share your stories and just talk about the things that you're going through.
Thank you for considering me. I'm really appreciative to share my story with others that have an understanding of the type of loss that I have endured. So, I guess my mom, me taking care of her those years, when she passed, I never expected her to pass, even though I was preparing for it. I was just getting insurance papers together, talking to my siblings. We had put her on hospice, of course, but it just did not register that she was going to leave. Because every day that I woke up was a day to make sure that she was alive, well, and having the best day of her life, Mm-hmm. So when she did leave, I left her here. When she died, I left her here with my siblings, and I went to work. And I was so numb that day. I really couldn't, the pain was there, but I was so numb, and then I had this sense of freedom, like I could breathe. It was like, like I said, it's a burden, but it's done in so much love, it doesn't seem like a burden at the time. And I just felt free, and then I started feeling guilty. Like I wanted her to be gone, and that just was not true. It's just that there is a form of relief when you're not constantly worried about a particular person or what they doing, or is the aide doing well with her today, and all of those different things. And so, yeah,
mm-hmm. I can relate to that.
We can definitely relate to
that. Being intentional about when I feel it coming on, I'm intentional about, no, I'm not finna feel bad. I've done this for my daughter. I just took her till she was off. I took care of my mother till she was gone. And so finally, I am going to take care of me. But that's a daily struggle to feel okay about feeling free, and doing the things for yourself that now you can finally do. I don't have to feel bad about that.
Right.
So, and we kind of talked about that too. Our mom was on hospice, but for us, our mom had been this is her 3rd time on hospice. So again, we really didn't think, we thought we had more time than we did. So when she passed away, Nikita and I we were like, how do you feel? How do you feel? We were kind of in denial. And then we felt kind of, there was it was like, okay, we're not worried anymore, but it was so surreal, So the first part, is the guilt. It was like, okay, why do we feel like, I was really sad, but it was like a huge weight been lifted. So the first 2 weeks, we were just kind of getting into the idea of not having to think about all the time what's going on with my mom, and not in a bad way. It's not a bad feeling, but we felt guilty, right?
Yeah, and I was also numb. We felt guilty because it was a sense of relief, but it wasn't like a good or bad relief. It was just like the first night that after she passed, I did sleep, and so because normally in the night I never slept well because she, would kind of scream at night if we needed to be changed or whatever. So I never slept like through the night. I always would wake up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning just kind of check on her. So that night after she passed, I slept, but I felt guilty because I slept. And like I said, I think it was more of a numb feeling because I couldn't believe that she was gone. I still didn't believe it yet because, I just felt like maybe she was going to come back. I don't know what I felt like she wasn't really gone.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like a denial, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So we would say, so we kind of went from the numbness to the denial. Like we were like, I'm okay. Peter was like, I'm okay. We kept saying every day, we're like, okay, we're okay. We're okay.
Yeah. Because I even went to work, like, they kept saying, no, take it. I go, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. She was surrounded by love. She was okay. And I kept saying that for the first 2 weeks, and then that third week, I don't know what happened, but I just broke down. I just could not get out of bed. And the guilt and the sadness really started to weigh on me.
It really, right. And I think that when we got our mom's urn back with her ashes, and it said in loving memory of Virginia. And that to me, that more so than the death certificate. Seeing my mom in memory, because still I'm so used to talking about her in present tense. But to start talking about my mom in past tense, that hurt. Like,
and you know what else?
Third week.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, for me, my first prayer, because I prayed for my mom every time I went to church or Bible study. And the first time I had to pray for her not being here, I couldn't even finish the prayer. That's how sad, that's how overwhelmed I felt,
And it's funny because your friends are calling you and sending you things during that first few weeks when you're really kind of like going through the motions. I felt like I describe it as like floating. I don't know how, I was like kind of going through the motions, doing what I needed to do, not really thinking about it. But that third week, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like I think the first day I couldn't really get up. I just was crying so much. And it was hard just to do simple things, just, turning on my computer or every little bitty thing, especially we still have my mom's things here, her bed and, her television and everything was very difficult. And I actually enrolled in my company's EAP, employee assistance program. And basically you get a certain amount of time for therapy. And when I first did it, I'm like, I'm just going to do it, because they say I should do it. I am so glad that I did, because I was in like a third session or like second section or whatever of my therapy. And I really kind of need to talk about, because I wasn't expecting to feel that way about, I didn't know the pain would be as unbearable as it is and was, even though, because I'm like, I dreaded looking at people's posts on Mother's Day, I just dreaded it. And I thought it would be really, really bad, but I had no idea the depth and the level of pain that I've never felt before,
I couldn't even, like, they have the little challenge on Facebook or post your mom if she's here or not. Those right there, I was like, I couldn't even engage with them because I was just so hurt and heavy. I was just like, I can't do this. I have to find something healthy for me to do for my mother.
Right.
Because I'm thinking about Mother's Day coming up,
Yep.
So I decided that I'm going to deliver flowers for Walter Knowles Mother's Day. Flowers for them for Mother's Day. So that's something that I can kind of, what I can help, I'm going to help. What I can't help, I'm going to lay in, whatever that may be. But I felt like I was led to do so. But I was looking at Netflix the other day and I had to put the code in and that was her birthday. I was like, dang. Because I was just looking at it like, what's that? Like, it just didn't even, I was like, what's that? What's the And I was like, oh man, the cold.
Right.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
There can be so many little triggers that, that we are going to experience, in the next coming months.
Yeah,
Yeah, every month is going to be a first. It's going to be a
yeah,
year first. Our mom died
yeah,
in January. Your mom passed away in March. And it's going to be a year of first. Like
Mhm.
yeah.
first Easter, we actually taped the show and
Mhm.
something happened on Easter and I didn't know how I was going to get through it. But I really wasn't worried about Easter. I've been dreading this Mother Day my whole entire life. Even
That
my
is true.
mom,
That is
when
true.
I was little, when my grandmother was alive, and my mom would always say, "Oh, I'm so happy to have my mom on Mother's Day." What's the flowers? I forget. I know you get a white flower. I don't know. You get a
If she
red or white
passed,
flower.
red if
Which
they're
one is
alive,
it?
right?
Oh, red if they're alive and white if they passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And when anyway, that's what we did at our church. And we're like, "Oh, we're so
Mhm.
glad we had the flower. Our mom is still here." So I've been dreading my first Mother's Day without my mom since I was like 10 because
Mm-hmm. But the way that our mom was, she kind of it was a big deal, but for her, like my sister would cry when she was little about she would be crying saying, "Mom, you're gonna die one day." And my mom was like, "So are you," So she did not
right,
want us to just bury
right,
ourselves after she
right.
passed, so
Right,
Yeah.
right. So my therapist suggested maybe doing something in honor of her that she liked to do. And my
Mhm.
mom did like the boat.
Mhm.
So I don't know, we may go on the boat, but we're gonna try and we're gonna mourn, and that's okay. We're gonna mourn. We're gonna
Mhm.
also find some way to find some joy because we all have wonderful mothers, and people
Yeah.
always say the fact that we were such wonderful caregivers, is a testament honor to what great
Mother,
mothers we have. So I'm
right?
definitely
Right.
going to honor her. But we were talking about the whole idea of like denial and then guilt.
Mhm.
I already know Mother's Day is a trigger. I did not realize how many triggers. I didn't
Mhm.
realize we triggered so much. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I was getting ready to go to Walmart,
Mhm.
and I burst out crying, putting on my shoes because I remember in the past, whenever I would go to the store, my mom would be here with the CNA looking at me get ready. You know what I mean? Like, where are you going? Where do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Whereas now I don't have to. I mean, she's not here. Like she's not here
Right.
for me to see, and so that broke me down. I'm like, I miss my
Yeah.
mom. It doesn't even matter how sick she was or the fact that
Yeah.
she couldn't talk. The love that she displayed in her
Mhm.
eyes, I'm gonna
Mhm.
miss that. So
Yeah.
that was a trigger.
Yeah.
Facebook. I have a lot of Facebook memories, and my phone. Like my phone is a real trigger. Like I really
Yeah.
need to figure out how to not see all. I'm glad that I took pictures pretty much every single day that my mom was here these last few years. But not only do I have those Facebook pictures, but they're like live pictures. So my mom is moving in them.
Yeah.
So I have all these movies. I'm like, I'll appreciate that later on in life, but right now it's hard.
Right, because I picked up her phone and I noticed that it was one with my mom, and I start crying. I could not give her the phone back because I was like, "What is
Yeah.
she?" So yeah, and I have triggers of my mom loved breakfast food, so whenever I'm
Yeah.
cooking breakfast, that smell can bring me to tears.
I think that today I found out that was a trigger for me. I need to go to the grocery store. I have not went to the grocery store since
Mm.
I bought the salad mix for my mother's repast.
Mm.
So
Mm,
normally, I'm gonna show you all. Normally, this is my grocery list.
Oh wow. Okay.
This is my grocery list today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Wow.
devastated.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know what to buy. I don't,
Mm.
and even at that time, she was still eating, so I would still be like doing, the pudding, pop pudding, her, of course, her insures, all of that type of stuff that I could blend. I was still buying like soups and all of that stuff that I could blend up, and like I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to buy any of that type of stuff no more. So I was kind of like, I'm just laying back down. I'm not going to the grocery store. I'm
Mm.
just doing the
Right.
podcast.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
just do the podcast, and I'm gonna lay here and look silly till I just see where I'm at and what
Right.
I'm feeling in the
Right.
moment.
Right.
So yeah,
Every day. It's like a everyday touch and go. One moment you could be great. The next minute it's just you
yeah,
crying.
When we were talking about doing this show, Nicole actually mentioned the whole idea of being codependent, or, you know, especially for you too, Nikita, I think you guys are more hands-on with the caregiving, but the whole idea of how your whole life changes in terms of putting yourself first. So you guys can, either one of you, kind of ping pong off of each other and talk about that idea of codependency. And what do you mean by that as a caregiver?
Codependency, I mean, you have this person that is totally reliant up on you, and you start to depend on that, because that's a form of trust and love that it started with my daughter. You know, I think I'm like my mother. My mother was that way. She took care of everybody. And then she took care of my aunt up until she was like 78. And then my aunt was like 98, 97, something like that. Mm. And then I had animals, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've always had something to take care of. Mm. And they have never taken care of myself like that. So I was talking to my sister, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do without my mom. I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, you're going to be fine, Nicole. We're going to be fine. She said, don't go get another mama. Do not go get another mama. Don't go get not one more animal. She said, do for you what you've been doing for others all this time.
That is,
and I was just like, wow. You know, I've never totally focused on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even when I was going to school, I was like, okay, I'm finna go to school. My daughter gone. You know, that still wasn't for inner me as the woman. You know, just the woman herself. I have not poured into that in the way that I can, and I'm about to start doing.
Right. Right.
So.
Me too. But yeah, it's just, I always felt like I needed to take care of other people. Like, my whole life felt like, okay, I got to do this and this, you know, but I always put myself last. And I didn't mind, you know, but when you're a caregiver, it's like, you don't have time to even think about yourself. Like, I would get up, brush my teeth, that's it, and then go take care of her. Everything else was. So for me, it's like, now I can't believe I'm doing this, but I will spend an hour in the morning now, like, moisturizing my face, cleaning it, you know, just taking care of me with things I never really did before, you know. And I even have, like, on the weekends where I spend like a not really a spa day, but just things that I have a little basket that I fill with all these things to take care of me, like my skin, you know, my hair, and it's not that I'm being selfish. I'm just taking the time out that I've never done for me. You know, so
you know, right? We used to. I mean, 10 years prior, I look at like our posts and everything. We were juicing. We were going to the gym. You know, that's because mommy was independent. We weren't caregivers then.
Right.
So it's like relearning who we are. You know, and we were very much about taking care of ourselves, doing these things, having fun. We went on vacations and everything. So, like, transitioning from being, you know, the caregiver and always thinking about your mom, which we did lovingly. No, there's no doubt about it. And if I could do it for 10 more years, I would.
Right.
Without a question. So now I'm making some changes. You know, we're going to talk about, you know, I have made some decisions about my career. I've decided what I will and will not do. What I want to do, the things that make me happy, I'm going to do. Because I know that my mom is saying, Nicole, Nikita, do you live the life that you want to live? So it's kind of exciting, but it's still scary. And I still, you know, and I don't want people to get us wrong. Like, last week we were crying a whole bunch, but we had some time. But it's like trying to navigate living life while in pain, you know? And it's like I said, it's something I've never felt before. It is sometimes, and I'll be honest, I want to be with my mom. I want to just sometimes wish I could go with her. I don't want to kill myself. I'm not saying that, but there's some days where I just miss when I used to just hug up with my mom. But even before she was sick, we would get it, you know, she would hug us up, or we would, you know, get in bed with her and just talk as grown people. You know what I mean? So just that I miss. So trying to navigate that, you know, is scary, but I'm also excited because I would put on Instagram, you know, things that you can do as you're grieving. But, you know, I started thinking about all the skills that we've acquired. I'm definitely more compassionate person. I definitely have more empathy for the elderly. I definitely know how to be an I'm an attorney. but I'm even more of an advocate now because I
Yes.
know the ways in which the system is formed
Yes.
for people like us, which will be a whole nother show again.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are skills that I have. These are going to make me a better friend, a better attorney, a better, anything, just because I have learned that through my mom, and also a better businesswoman, because if you are a caregiver and if you are caring for, and if you're a caregiver of color, I'm just going to keep it real. There are a lot of obstacles that you face in the system. Right. And knowing how to navigate through that and then also coming out on top, because there were many times where we were able to get our mom the things she needed, get her the care that she needed. It allows me to know that, okay, I can do so many things because of this experience as a caregiver. So
makes you resilient. Yes, very much
there
so.
you go. It makes you resilient. I am proud to have been a caregiver, and I take that with me as I grieve and mourn. And Nicole, we thank you so much for coming on our show and speaking with us a second time. And hopefully we'll see you again in the future, because we just always have so many things to talk about that we want to share with our listeners. So thank you.
Thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it.
If you can, hit the like button, subscribe at the bottom. You see it right there, and share.
It's free.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.